Hello everyone, and good evening. Welcome to my first DIY live video. And for you who are just jumping on, if you could let me know if you could hear and see me okay, that would be great. I'm outside, so the breeze might muffle the microphone a little bit. So, I'm so glad you are all here. I'm so excited to be doing this for you all. I have made a spool clock in the past and I got a lot of questions about it, so I figured I would try and show you guys how to all do it. So if you don't know me, I'm Brianna Faust. I'm the creator and owner behind Prairie Pine Designs, and I plant a pine tree for every wood sign I make and sell. So thank you for supporting me and my business and for helping the environment by planting a tree. So, with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I am just going to walk over here. Oh, of course my dog's in the way. Let me see if I can flip you guys around. Alright, this is the wood spool that I have made a couple years ago. And it was up on our wall for a few years now, and I made it because we had a wood spool and I saw the idea and I just thought it was really cool. And since then I got a lot of interest in it. This one is a little different than the one we are going to make because this one I used spray painted steel, and as you can see I tacked each individual steel piece on, which was a really big pain in the butt because it took a lot of time. And so the way I'm going to show you guys how to do it is with stenciling, and it is a lot easier, a lot cheaper, and I actually like the looks of it a lot better. So I don't have a finished one of that, but I'll show you how to do it. So over here I have all the supplies you guys are going to need to make the spool clock, and I will also link my blog post in the comments after I'm done. I couldn't figure out how to post it above in the posting section. For some reason it wouldn't let me, so I will post that at the end. And if for any reason you guys have any questions at all, if I skipped over something too fast, because I am going to go a little fast here, don't worry about trying to write everything down. You can rewatch this and watch my post, or look at my post later on. So I have a bunch of shop rigs here. We use old t-shirts. It works great. You can reuse them, and quite frankly I think they work the best. And then you want a sander. I use a Black & Decker orbital sander. It works pretty good. And then you're going to want two different kinds of sandpaper. And the sandpaper here I have is Formax. That's the brand that I've been using lately. It works pretty good. You want the 80 grit and the 120 grit. And it depends on your spool. You might even want a 60 grit. But I pre-did my spool already, and the 80 grit worked pretty good. And then you're going to want a tack cloth after you're done sanding to sand everything off with. From there we have our rubber gloves and our stain. And you can use any stain that you want. I actually use homemade stain sometimes too. I don't have any on hand at the moment, but my favorite brand that I like using is the Minwax brand. And this is Special Walnut and Jacobean. Jacobean's one of my favorite colors. So I just have these two out because those are my favorite. You can use whatever color you want. The spool that I did in the past, this one here, this is actually red mahogany, and that's a good color to have too. It gives it a nice rustic look. And then I have my stencils that I'm going to use for the Roman numerals. You can decide whether or not you want Roman numerals or actual numbers. I just think the Roman numerals gives it a good look. And then you have your tape and your spray paint that you're going to use for making your Roman numerals or your numbers. And if you don't have spray paint on hand but you have regular paint, don't worry about going out and just getting spray paint for this. If you have regular paint on hand, which I have here, you can do it with a foam brush or a makeup applicator. I wouldn't suggest using a normal paintbrush, a bristle paintbrush, because it tends to leave a little like bleed almost. So this works great because then you can put it on super light. And then I have the hook. When you're all done, you can put the hook on the back to hang it up. And so right here is my unfinished spool that I have. I'm going to try and set this down here so that I can talk and show you guys at the same time. So you can find unfinished spools pretty much for free. I did pay for one once for 10 bucks, which is still super cheap because you get both sides. You can make 2 clocks out of one spool. So this is the spool that I had that goes to the other clock, and I already went ahead and cleaned it and sanded it, but the first step that you want to do is obviously find a spool that you want to use. The 36-inch size seems to work the best. If you go any bigger, obviously they get a lot heavier and you need more wall space. So this is a 36-inch size, I believe. So when you get it, it's probably going to be pretty dirty. So you're going to want to take a rag. You might even have to get it wet, but just wipe it all down and make sure you get all the dust and dirt off. I actually took the hose to this, and you can do it that way. But if you do it that way, then you have to allow time for it to dry, which will take a day or two. So make sure you get all the dirt and stuff off, and make sure you do both sides when you do that, because you don't want dirt and grime on your wall when you hang it up either. So once that process is done, and if you did use a hose, once it's dry, you're going to go ahead and sand it. And so I'm not going to show you guys actual sanding because it's loud and annoying, and I went ahead and sanded this one last night for you guys. So you're going to take your 80 grit paper and sand all the, like, a lot of them comes with markings and words and stuff and paint. You want to make sure you get all of that off. So use the 80 grit. If that's not doing the job, you can use 60 grit, but the 80 grit seemed to work pretty good for me last night. And that's going to take like 10 to 20 minutes. It kind of sucks. I don't like sanding that much, but you want to make sure it's nice and smooth, especially since we're using stencils. You want to make sure it sticks on pretty well. So once you're done with the 80 grit, go ahead and do the 20 grit and make it nice and smooth. And from there, once you're done sanding, that's where the tack cloth comes in handy. This is a super tough one. And all these materials, like I said, are in my blog post, and I'll post that in the comments. Just like I said, for some reason I couldn't get it to post right away for me. So at the end here, I'll post it for you guys. So if you guys don't know what tack cloth is, it kind of looks like cheesecloth, but it's super sticky. And it'll get all that sawdust and sand dust off when you're sanding. So you just want to make sure you get all that off. Even on the edges too, you don't have to sand the edges. I didn't. But just make sure it's nice and clean before you put your stain on. You don't want it to be bumpy and icky when you stain. So just make sure you get all the spots, and then like this here, I don't really worry about any of that stuff because I think it gives it its character. I like when it looks a little more rustic and a little more worn. If you do have a newer spool and it isn't worn like this, it's a newer one, actually you can take like a chain or a hammer to it and just bang it up and give it some character that way. So after you're done with your tack cloth cleaning there, go ahead and grab your rubber gloves and your stain. I don't know if you guys can see this or not because I'm the other way, but grab your stain and your gloves and go ahead and stain it. So I'm going to show you guys just a little bit here if I can get this open. Forgot to grab my can opener, and those come in so handy. Alright. I'm going to use the special walnut right now, and I just dip it in. And I'm only going to sand a little bit of this for you guys because I want to be able to show you guys how to do the stencil. And if I do all of it, the stencil isn't going to stick to the wet stain. So I'm just going to show you here a little bit. And you want to make sure you get all the nooks and crannies. So this is just a little bit of what the special walnut looks like. And you can do multiple coats. You don't just have to do one coat. I believe on the spool that I did a couple years ago with the red mahogany, there's 3 coats on that. So don't be afraid to get it super dark if you want it that way. Otherwise, if you don't even want to use stain and you want to use paint, I've seen that done. I haven't done that personally, but you can do that. I've seen one really cool one where they used white chalk paint and then they sanded it down to give it a kind of that farmhouse look. So once it is all stained here, I'm just going to check to see if you guys can all hear me all right. Perfect. So once it is all stained, it is and dried, you want to give it time to dry. It's going to take 1 or 2 days. The best way to let it dry is just to sit outside in the sun. But if the weather doesn't permit that or whatever, just leave it in your garage. But just make sure it isn't in a place where dust or something will fall on it and scratch it type of thing. I don't want you to have to redo it all. So once you are done with that, you are going to take your stencil. And you might be wondering, well, I don't have stencils like that. Well, that is where my lovely giveaway comes in handy. For you guys who are watching right now live, if you feel like you want to make one of these yourself, I'm going to give away one of these packages. You can either choose numbers or Roman numerals. The examples that I have is obviously Roman numerals, but I'm going to give one set away for free, and I'll ship it to you guys, to whoever shares this video and then comments on this video for you. So if you share and comment, I will give you a set of these for free. And if you still do that and don't end up winning, I will still send a set to you along with the centerpiece that we're going to be doing for $15. So let me know. Just send me your email address. You can comment or you can message me. You can email me. However you want to do it. If you do want to get a set of this, one of these. So it's $15, which is super cheap. You still are able to make one of these spools for under $50, and they sell anywhere between $100 and $200 on Etsy. So this is a cheap way of doing that. So I'm going to take my Roman numeral 12. I'm going to figure out, how do I want this place? Do I want the panels to be going vertical like this, or do I want to turn it around and do it so that they're horizontal? Since it's set up like this, I'm just going to show you guys this way here. So you're going to figure out where your center point is, and I just eyeball it honestly, so that looks about right. So I'm going to do that, and then I have a vinyl applicator thing. You guys can just use a credit card or a debit card or any type of card, and you just go around, go on and seal it like this. So once that is nice and attached, go ahead and take off your, and you're probably going to have to hold it down in the corner a little bit to get it started. You just take this off. And that's how you apply your stencil. And I'm just going to show you guys how to do one stencil for the sake of time. But how I do it is you do your 12 o'clock. Figure out where you want your 12 o'clock. From there, take a ruler or a yardstick like this and a level and figure out where your 6 o'clock should be. So my 6 o'clock should line up right here. And then after that, you figure out where your 9 and your 3 are going to be. And the left clocks only have the 12, 3, 6, and 9, and you can definitely do that. I think that looks cool too. But then from there, if you want to go do your 1 and 6 o'clock, and then your 2 and 8, or 2 and 7, excuse me, you just keep going around and straightening it, make sure it's in the right position. So now that we have our stencil on, I'm going to go ahead and grab some painter's tape, and I am going to tape around the stencil so that I don't get paint on the edges here. I only want my stencil to get paint on it. And you're going to do this with every single number that you have. And once it's all the numbers are applied and all the tape is applied, you're ready to spray paint or use your paint with a foam brush. And I'm going to show you guys how to do it with spray paint here. So I like to use Rust-Oleum brand. It's pretty cheap, cost effective, and it seems to work pretty well. So I'm just going to spray it on here. And because I'm showing you guys, I want to make sure you guys all see it's upright, obviously. When I'm doing this, I'm going to have it flat on the ground so it doesn't run like that. So, once you have all your numbers spray painted, you're going to let it dry for a couple hours or even overnight. Just make sure it's nice and dry. And so I'm going to flip this over and show you one that I already have here. This is the back side, so I didn't sand this one very well. But I'm going to show you here what it should look like. And because I didn't sand it very well, this one might have a little bleed to it. Yeah, it does a little bit because I didn't sand the side very well because I was in a hurry. So that's why you want to make sure you do a good job sanding. And if for some reason it does show up like this, you can always take a razor blade to it or some sharp object and try and get it off. Or you can take a nice thin brush and if you have a regular paint and some in a paint can, you can go around the edges to smooth it up a little bit. So that is how your numbers are done. And then I am going to switch you guys over to the other clock to show you how the clock hand is done here. So over here, I have the clock hand with the centerpiece in the middle. And I'm really super bummed because I had already planned to do this live tonight at 8 o'clock, and I had ordered a clock hand to show you exactly how to apply it, and it hasn't come in the mail yet. So I'm just going to show you guys how to do it on this one. The one that I have linked in my blog and to this in the comments, I'm going to link that after I'm done here, is this 24-inch dial. And this is the best one that I found. It works pretty well, except the battery's dead, so that's why the time's a little off. But you want to make sure, if you don't get this one that I linked to you guys, that for a 36-inch spool, that you get the 24-inch hand, and that the shaft is long enough to reach in the center. If you have a short shaft, obviously it's not going to reach and come out far enough. I believe this one's 11/16, if I remember right. So it's pretty self-explanatory. You just read the directions on the clock hand kit. You put a AA battery in it, and the front connects to the back, and I can show you the back here. It just is a little box with a battery in it, so it fits in just like that. And I didn't use any glue or anything to hold this in besides this front piece here. And this is actually, this front piece, like I said, is a piece of steel that I spray painted, but you don't need this, and I'm going to show you guys now on the other spool what you should do. So once you are all ready to put your clock hand on, that is where this other piece of vinyl comes in handy. When you have your Roman numeral stencils cut, I can make you one of these as well. And so it's just a circle that fits plop right there over your clock hand. So once your clock hand is in, don't put the hands on it yet. It'll just have that little shaft, and then you just make a small incision right in the center with like an X-Acto knife or a razor blade or whatever works best for you, and you put it right on top, and then you can apply this to that. So I'm just going to show you guys on the other side here how I do that. So again, your clock hand is going to be in here already with the shaft, just not your arms on it yet. And then you're going to make it a little incision, just a small little spot, just enough to get over your clock hand. I really wish my clock hand came in time so I could show you exactly how to do it. If you guys do have any questions about it, just comment here in the comment box, or you can email me or message me or whatever. It doesn't matter to me, I'll try and get back to you. But so then you just put it right on top of your clock hand, then right there. And you want to make sure it's nice and smooth and on there. And this one is a little more tricky since it does have the opening. But once it does have the clock hand in there, it should stay in place pretty well. It's probably not going to stick very well to that since I stained it for you guys. Yeah, see, that's why you gotta let your stain dry, because it's not, your vinyl is not going to stick to that. And there you have your center piece, and it'll cover up that opening, and you'll just have your clock hand. And so, once you have that on, you can add your clock hands. So, again, I'm going to move you guys over here. And this is what it will look like when you're done, except it'll have the paint instead of the steel Roman numerals there. So the final thing that you have left to do is add your little D hook here. And so that's super easy. It comes with your screws. It's a Phillips screwdriver, so you can use a drill, and then you just hook it on. I do want to warn you though, when you put it on your wall, you want to make sure you have a heavy-duty wall hook to hang it on. Obviously, because it's pretty heavy, I don't want anything to happen. Otherwise, you can lean it up against the wall. If you have, I'm going to flip you guys around here. There we go. My dog's in the background. That's Miss Rosie. Alright. Yeah, like I said, you can use these D-hooks. Make sure it is for 50 pounds or more. Some of them are 40 pounds. Depending on how heavy your spool is, estimate it. I don't want you guys to get the small D-hooks and then learn that it's not going to hold it up. Otherwise, you can take 2 of them and put it on the back and have a wire in between the 2. That's probably the best option. I don't have any wire with me right now. And I just used a D-hook here on this one, and it works pretty great. It's been hanging on the wall for about 2 years now. So that is how you make a wooden spool clock out of a wooden spool. So if you guys have any questions, please let me know and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I'm so glad you guys joined me tonight, and I think I'll be doing some more lives in the future, so let me know what you guys want to learn, and I'd be more than happy to do a live DIY. So, like I said to some of my VIP groups, I have a special offer for those who are joining me right now live. If you want your own vinyl stencils to make these, I will send you one batch, numbers 1 through 2, or 1 through 12, and the circular part for free. I would be really happy to do that. Otherwise, you can buy them for 15 bucks and I can ship them to you that way for free too. Thanks again, everyone. I am so happy again that you could join me, and I hope you all have a wonderful night. Bye.